Hello, this is Christian from Charleston Robotics, and this is the basic frame construction video set. So here we're using a chop saw to cut this 1.5-inch PVC Schedule 40 pipe. The chop saw is a wonderful thing to use when you're doing the basic tube cutting and layout, but it's not necessary. You can buy a used chop saw on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist for around $50, or you can use the standard back saw and cheap miter box. These cost about $15 brand new from Home Depot or Lowe's or your local hardware store. So this takes a lot more effort, and the cut isn't as clean, but it works exactly the same way, and you can easily build a ChIMP with this method. So the miter box especially leaves the pipe with quite a few burrs, and so we're just going to use some of this rosin paper that plumbers use to clean up their joints, usually in copper pipe, and tear a piece off and just do a quick smoothing of both the outside and especially the inside of this pipe. Now this particular pipe or pipes is going to be the axle stubs that the hoverboard motors actually slide into. And because of that, we need a beveled inner edge on each one of these pipes, just to help it slide actually in. So here we have all the cut pipe, every pipe needed to build the ChIMP. And as you'll see, we have some cleaning up to do yet. Here, for instance, we're using acetone along with a respirator and some nitrile gloves to take all the printing and dirt off these PVC pipes. It works wonders. You use paper towels and you throw them away as needed, but it erases within seconds. Also, if your pipe is ever really scratched up or dull, you can make it shiny again by applying a light wet coat of acetone. Really makes a difference. The ChIMP hip plate is made using 1x6 PVC trim board and various drills. So the slots, as you can see, are made by using a 1/4-inch drill bit and drilling each end of the slot out, followed by connecting those two drilled holes with a jigsaw or a coping saw till you make these nice oval slots. And you can chamfer the edges afterwards using a file or a router or even sandpaper. The hole right above there is made using first an 11/64 bit, then a 1/4-inch bit, and then finally a 3/8 bit. And right above there is a tiny little hole at the top that's made using an 11/64 bit. The center hole is drilled first with a pilot hole like an 11/64, and then followed with a 2-inch hole saw. Everything is laid out on the plans as well. The front and the back plates for the hips are both made with 1x4 PVC trim board, and their mounting holes, you can countersink them if you'd like using a 3/8 Forstner bit, or just go straight through with a 11/64 bit. Either way, you need the 11/64 bit to actually make the final hole. And the back plate is also slotted. For assembly, we'll be starting by building the base structure or the axle support cross member. So this is the 1.5 to 1.25-inch adapter, and I'm using regular PVC, clear PVC cement. And you apply it first to the pipe, and then to the fitting, and then one more time back to the pipe again. And do as I say, not as I do, but in this case, I'm doing it correctly. There we go. And now we're going to just slip fit, turn as you insert, and then you have to wipe off all the excess glue. You apply light pressure for up to 30 seconds, maybe even a minute, depending on how important the connection is and if it's by any chance pushing itself back out again. So I'm just holding this, and I'm not going to do it as long as I normally would because it's the video, but you get the idea. In this video, I'm trying to construct a chimp in almost real time, which is why the overall video is almost 30 minutes long. So once again, the pipe, then the fitting, and you got to get glue all the way in to the landing that's inside the pipe, all the way to the outside edge. And then the pipe one more time. That makes almost a full lower section. One to go. By the way, the stand that you see that I'm working on, I made to support my chimp. It was very simple. It's just a piece of plywood, and that's a 1x4 that's actually been center drilled with that 2-inch hole saw, and then cut in half with whatever saw you have. And that makes those two supports, which are fastened from underneath with deck screws. And then there's a vertical riser that's made out of a 1x4 furring strip or something like that, also bottom screwed. And you'll see why that stand comes into play later. It's not necessary to build this at all, but I find to work on the chimp and everything, it's relatively convenient. There you go, insert, turn. And now, after cleaning up, we're going to hold this in place. You can see that the chimp is extremely easy to construct as far as the frame goes. It's extremely easy. Okay. I'm just going to snap it into this holder, and we'll move on. So this is the leg that we're about to put together. And the leg is 1 1/4 inch pipe, because remember we reduced the 1 1/2 inch pipe that's the whole center cross or lower cross section. And now we're working with 1 1/4 inch pipe. And we're going to make the first connection. This is the connection between the leg and the hip cross. And the hip cross is the only piece of the whole chimp that we modified a fitting for. One leg of the cross, and you can see it right there, has been cut down, and that's in the plans. And that's so that the wires can exit to go to the O-drive board, but more on that later. All right, after holding that for about a minute, we will insert this into the bottom cross member. Now, the chimp is currently facing forward, away from me. The long end of that cross at the top is facing forward. And that reinforces and supports the front hip board. Hopefully not from impact, but anything's possible. This is the fitting of the top hip plate or hip board. This is also PVC. It's PVC trim board, and we're going to be gluing and screwing that to this fitting. So I'm applying glue around the edge of the fitting. I've applied it inside the PVC board already. One more application, and we can slide that down and then clean it up. Remember that the 2 slots are for the battery, and they go in the back. You'll see that the board is flush with the front face of that hip cross. And when we clean this up, we're going to align it and put a screw in it to hold it in place and to reinforce it. I had previously marked the center of the tube and the center of the board, and now we're going to pre-drill. Now, you can easily use an electric driver. However, I chose this normal everyday screwdriver. This is actually Torx because I happen to like Torx screws. And I'm putting it in by hand, so you can see it takes a little while. This screw is actually longer than it needs to be. There's no reason why it can't be longer in this case. There's no wires in the front of this. But as soon as this is down, we will make sure it's level, and we'll let that glue set. The average time for this PVC glue to set is about an hour, with a full set in 24 hours. But as you can see, I'm building this chimp in basically real time. And you don't want to put any stress on any of the joints you've made, but you can literally assemble it this quickly, much like a plumber would assemble his pipe one after another. But this chimp doesn't have to hold water, and they wait before they pressurize their pipe. So it can't hurt once you build this to let the whole thing set before you do anything special with it. This is the torso pipe, and the torso pipe is a 6-inch long piece of 1 1/4. It's going into the shoulder cross. We're gluing this too. Remember, I did not glue in the leg pipe into the bottom cross member section. That is not to be glued. I just inserted it in, and it's currently being held in place with that black Velcro strap. That will get eventually be screwed in place so that it's removable. There's a couple of joints that are not glued. The leg to the PVC cross member that's inserted into that 1 1/4 to 1 inch, 1 1/2 inch adapter is not glued. It's never glued. So now we have to align the shoulders because they want to be at a 90 degree to the hip cross and parallel with the bottom member. This is the neck, and the neck is not glued. We're just going to force the neck down for now. On top of the neck is a 1 1/4 inch cap, which we'll install afterwards. But right now, we're going to install the shoulder stubs. And the shoulder stubs are 4 1/2 inch long, 1 1/4 PVC pipe. Insert while turning. And it's starting to look a little like a chimp. One more coat on the pipe again, and it's ready to insert. Don't forget to use your nitrile gloves the whole time. This PVC cement is nasty. You have to use it in a ventilated area, the same as the acetone. And this is, for instance, this is in my garage with the door open.